Hello everybody, welcome to the ADHD Writers Workshop, where we learn about grammar while keeping it funky.
You wanna dance?
Groovy!
Today I want to talk about subordinating and coordinating conjunctions, and how their versatility can help improve your writing. If you've ever wondered how to make your writing flow better, be more balanced, or how to make your ideas more impactful, you're in the right place. In order to talk about conjunctions though, we first need to talk about clauses.
My claws are speared!
No, not those kinds of clauses. I'm thinking more about the clauses that are groups of words that contain a subject and a predicate, which is usually a verb.
Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does.
This sentence is an independent clause, which is a type of clause that can stand on its own as a sentence and expresses a complete thought. Let's take another independent clause like this one and see what happens when we put them by each other. Now these two sentences are fine how they are. They both express a complete thought and stand alone. However, we can use a subordinating conjunction to combine them like this. Now we have one independent clause and one dependent clause. Our second sentence is now a dependent clause, which is a type of clause that contains a subject and verb but does not express a complete thought and cannot stand alone as a sentence.
I am Assistant Regional Manager, and I can take care of him. Part of my duties are to...
What? Part of your duties are to what?
What?
You just said that part of your duties are to something.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. What is wrong with you?
This is a process called subordination. Subordination is when you combine two clauses to make one clause dependent on the other. Notice how our second clause, the one after the subordinating conjunction, can no longer stand alone and have a complete meaning. It is now dependent to our first clause, which means that it adds more information to our first clause, and they can both stand together as one complete sentence. Now, why is this important?
Let me explain.
Well, now we have a complex sentence, which is a sentence type made up from one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. The flow of the sentence has changed, as well as its meaning. Before I had two sentences that didn't really flow together. It sounded like I was just naming off facts about myself. However, now that I've combined them using although, their meanings are linked and the reader understands that I eat ice cream in spite of being lactose intolerant.
It was worth it!
This is my favorite way to use subordinating conjunctions. They can help you make your writing flow more smoothly by adjusting the balance of your sentences and can also form logical links between those sentences to create new meaning. If you put the subordinating conjunction at the beginning of the sentence, notice how it changes the balance and flow of the sentence while still adding information and changing the sentence's idea through subordination. A little side note about complex sentences. When the dependent clause comes first, you always have to put a comma between the dependent clause and the independent clause. When the independent clause comes first though, it's not necessary. If you don't believe me, try pausing the video and reading each of these sentences out loud to see how they sound. Take a breath every time you see a comma and keep talking every time you don't. You'll notice that it just sounds better when you follow this rule. There are lots of different subordinating conjunctions, but here are a few. Depending on which one you use, the meaning will change. For instance, everywhere or wherever will change the place of the idea. After, before, and whenever will change the time of the idea. Because, as, or so will change the causes and effects of the idea. Check the description of this video for further study and more examples of subordinating conjunctions.
Extra work? I don't even like regular work.
Similar to subordinating conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions are words that you can use to connect two independent clauses. Unlike subordinating conjunctions, however, coordinating conjunctions turn two independent clauses into a compound sentence. You might have heard of coordinating conjunctions before. Lots of teachers will teach about fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Let's take our two independent clauses from earlier and add a coordinating conjunction to see what happens. The word but, a coordinating conjunction, links two sentences and changes their meaning, just like a subordinating conjunction. However, instead of subordination, coordinating conjunctions connect clauses through coordination. Now we have a compound sentence instead of a complex sentence. So what does that mean? Notice how these sentences can stand alone, but their ideas don't seem to be as related to each other as they were when we used a subordinating conjunction. Generally, subordinating conjunctions will link the two ideas more heavily than coordinating conjunctions, making one sentence a modifier of the first, while coordinating conjunctions will maintain the ideological importance of both clauses while linking them into the same sentence. You'll almost always want to use a comma before the coordinating conjunction when combining two independent clauses. I should also mention conjunctive adverbs really quick. A conjunctive adverb can connect independent clauses just like our conjunctions, but it always needs to come in between a semicolon and a comma. You can also use a conjunctive adverb to start a sentence that provides information about the sentence that it follows. When used like this, get rid of the semicolon and use the proper punctuation for both sentences. Our first example is a compound sentence made up from two independent clauses, and our second example shows two independent clauses that stand alone as two separate sentences. Notice how in both these examples, the two clauses have their own complete meaning. These are both independent clauses, and the conjunctive adverb links their meanings through coordination, just like coordinating conjunctions. You can also move the conjunctive adverb around the sentence to change how the sentence flows. Make sure though that you use a comma on both sides of the conjunctive adverbs if you do this. And I've got to apologize for how much I've talked about lactose intolerance in this episode.
Whoa! Whoa! I knew that milk would come back to haunt me. Help!
Conjunctive adverbs can drastically change the flow of your clauses and accomplish the same purpose as conjunctions by linking the two clauses' ideas. You can also use different conjunctive adverbs to change the relationship between both ideas and give them new meaning, much like subordinating conjunctions. Check out the source I have in the description of this video for more examples. When you're considering which of these three approaches works best for you to combine two sentences in your own writing, why not try them all?
Is there any way that you could do all of them?
That works, you got it.
All right. Thank you.
See which one complements your ideas the most and fits in with the other sentences around it. You're trying to make your sentences balanced, your paragraphs flow nicely, and attribute the right importance and the right meaning to the right ideas. I always suggest that you read your paper out loud to yourself because it will help you to catch errors and see how your paper flows. Now let's talk real quick about some issues you'll want to avoid when you break into this wonderful world of coordination and subordination.
Okay, fine, but I'm gonna complain the whole time.
Comma splice is when you connect two independent clauses with nothing more than a comma. To fix it, try adding a coordinating or subordinating conjunction, or just change the comma to a period. 9 times out of 10, you'll catch comma splices by reading your paper out loud because you'll notice there's a pause that sounds unnatural. A run-on sentence is where you don't have any punctuation between independent clauses. To fix it, just add punctuation. You can add a period to make two independent clauses, or you could add a comma with a coordinating or subordinating conjunction. The main idea here is that you want to avoid redundancy and improve the clarity of your piece, so you want to get rid of all those big, long, rambling kind of sentences.
Don't ever, for any reason, do anything to anyone, for any reason, ever, no matter what, ever, for any reason whatsoever. Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
A sentence fragment is a dependent clause that's standing on its own as a sentence.
As a fellow Dunder Mifflin employee, I feel for you. But like you, I am completely powerless to the whims of the new building owner.
Which is you.
Which is you is not a sentence.
I disagree with.
To fix it, add an independent clause with the appropriate punctuation, or just get rid of the subordinating conjunction. Anyway, that is all I have for you today, so thank you very much for watching and listening to me talk about my favorite part of speech for 10 minutes. Be sure to check the description for a summary of today's video and my sources. You can also find my email in the description, so you can send me any questions you have about today's episode or suggestions for the channel, but you can always throw those in the comments too. Another cool thing you could email me is you could send me your work, maybe a piece you've written, and a question you have about it, and I'll analyze it in a future episode. Also, make sure to check out next week's episode, which is going to be about essay planning and structure. Have a great day.